Today is an important day for Ukraine. The country marks 31 years of independence from the Soviet Union, but celebrations will be muted. A curfew has been imposed and security heightened as Ukraine marks 6 months since Russia began its invasion. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky warned on Tuesday of the possibility that Moscow could launch brutal strikes to mar the occasion. Public gatherings have been banned in the capital Kiev. A hard curfew has been imposed in the eastern city of Kharkiv. Many government officials have been ordered to work from home. Listen in now to the warning issued by the president.
Our armed forces, our intelligence community, security forces will do everything to protect people as far as it is possible. And we are sure to retaliate against any form of Russian terror. But please tomorrow be sure to follow security rules. Please respect the curfew. Act on the air raid alarm signals, pay attention to official announcements, and remember, together we all have to get to our victory.
Ukraine remains determined than ever to remain outside the control of Moscow. Ukraine broke free of the Soviet Union in August 1991 after an overwhelming majority of Ukrainians voted in a referendum to declare independence. For security reasons, Zelensky has not disclosed details of how the government will mark the public holiday. But it is understood that people like workers from a wide variety of fields like emergency services workers and railway personnel will be rewarded. But the fighting continues. Ukrainian forces shelled a government building in the Donetsk region on Tuesday. The area is controlled by pro-Russian separatists. The Central Hotel in Donetsk was also hit on Tuesday and guests had to be evacuated. Russian officials say 3 people were killed. The US Embassy in Kiev has also warned of the fighting escalating in the coming days and has yet again urged the US citizens to leave if they can. This comes as the United States is set to announce yet another security assistance package for Ukraine. It's said to be worth about $3 billion. The single largest tranche of military aid to Kiev since the war began. The package uses funds from the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative passed by Congress, which allows the government to procure weapons from the industry rather than taking weapons from existing US stocks. But under this system, weapons could take months to arrive in Ukraine, since weapon companies have to first procure them. Washington has already provided $10.6 billion in military assistance to Ukraine since February.
As Russia's war on Ukraine continues, U.S. security assistance is shifting to a longer-term campaign, which likely will keep American troops longer in Europe. The U.S. will announce an additional roughly $3 billion in aid to train and equip Ukrainian forces to fight for years to come. The announcement comes as the war hits its 6-month mark and also as Ukraine celebrates its Independence Day. The money is expected to fund contracts for drones, weapons, and other equipment that may not even hit the battlefield for a couple of years. To date, the United States has provided Ukraine with about $10.6 billion in military aid. This is since the beginning of the Biden administration, including 19 packages of weapons taken directly from the U.S. Defense Department stocks since August 2020.
Over the past 6 months, thousands have died. More than a third of Ukraine's 41 million people have been displaced from their homes. Entire cities have been destroyed, but the war in itself is largely at a standstill. Apart from Crimea, Russian forces control areas of the south and large chunks of eastern Donbass region. Peace talks have broken down and there have been no signs that negotiations will resume soon. This, of course, is our top story on WION World is One at this hour. Even as Ukraine marks its independence, a dire warning coming in from Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. He warns of the risk of brutal strikes by Russia and says that any attack would provoke a powerful response. Ukraine is marking its independence from Soviet rule in 1991. And of course, it has been 6 months since Russian forces invaded the country. And now the President, Volodymyr Zelensky, has warned of the risk of brutal strikes by Russia and said that any attack would provoke a powerful response. And for a better understanding of the situation on ground, we are now being joined by Yehor Brylan, who is a journalist from Kiev. Thanks so much for joining us. My first question for you, Ukraine, of course, is marking its independence from Soviet rule. This at a time when it's been more than 6 months since Russia invaded Ukraine. President Volodymyr Zelensky is warning of the risk of brutal strikes. He says that any attack would provoke a powerful response. What's your analysis of the situation on ground in Ukraine as of now?
Well, these days people in Kiev can watch the Russian military equipment on Khreshchatyk Street. It's the main street of Kiev. There are a lot of people in the center, and however, Ukrainian president and all Ukrainian authorities have told people not to gather in the downtowns because it's dangerous. And for example, this night there were several air raid alerts. The main place where people can hide from Russian bombs or missiles is underground, for example, and there are some people in the underground when there is air raid alert. So the situation on the front line is very stable because from the Russian side they have the problem with logistics to get the weapons from the occupied Crimea or from Russia. And for the Ukrainian side, the main challenge is to get more heavy weaponry to provide the counteroffensive operation. It's not only artillery, it's also tanks, aviation, and other military equipment.
Right.
And for Ukraine, retrospectively seeing all these 6 months for Ukraine, the main thing is to get the foreign support. And I would say the main change during the last 6 months is the orienting more towards global south. Ukraine is doing more in Africa. I would say about the activities of Ukrainian ambassador to South Africa, Lyubova Bravitova. She's very active. She's very active in the local media. She's very active with local politicians.
Right.
And also when we are speaking about India, Ukrainian ambassador resigned in May, and so for Ukraine it's very important to work with Global South and to tell that the Russian invasion of Ukraine is a global problem. It's a global problem due to global food security, due to energy systems, and due to more other factors.
Right.
So,
Yehor, thank you so much for all those insights. Right. Thank you so much for all those insights, and thanks for joining us on WION with the latest. WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.